Yeah, I'm ready. I'm hot.
I need a gavel, like nobody was reading.
Hi, everybody. We're gonna get started. Everyone have an agenda? This is weird. What? Everybody have an agenda? Yeah, the agenda's over there if you don't have an agenda. We'll start with introductions, give people a couple minutes. Just names, pronouns if you want, and are you upset that there's not snow yet? Or relieved? Or the other question is, when do you think the snow will come? I need a date.
First, well, you gotta put some parameters,
Tell me the parameters.
like first single snowfall of at least 6 inches.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, a decent snow. This, I don't know what this is. This little, you know. So, Sana, she, they pronouns, and I'm really upset that it hasn't snowed yet. I mean, I live in Minnesota. Where were we that they had snow already? Oh, Wisconsin. They had snow already, so I'm sad. And I would have predicted like yesterday. So I hear that it might not come before Christmas. So I guess I'm gonna say 12/26.
I'm Christine Kennedy. I'm kind of okay with it because it makes winter a little bit shorter or feel shorter. But I just envision it happening when travel happens, right?
Sue Francis, I'm the IB coordinator, and I'm perfectly fine with no snow. And I think it'll be the day we come back to school.
So is that January?
No! January 2nd.
January 2nd, okay. Yep.
I'm Diego De Paz. I'm the principal here at Baycroft. I use he, him pronouns. I'm fine with it also. I think it's also made winter shorter. I think it's made it not feel like it's actually winter break in 4 days. It's supposed to hit close to 50 degrees, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday this week. So that's crazy to think about. So I'm fine with it for now. I, like Sue, think it's going to happen right when we come back that first week. I think we'll have probably a good snowfall, and then we'll go into a deep freeze, and then winter will be absolutely miserable in January. So that's my prediction. Sorry, everybody.
I'm Liz Thompson. I have 2 fifth graders. I am the treasurer of the PTO. I'm okay with the no snow because it's like less work. So ideally, like magical Christmas Eve would be good, but we do want to have snow in January and February because it'll be really cold. So we might as well have snow, which kind of is the fun part of it.
Fair.
Hi, I'm Mike. I use he, him pronouns. I guess this year I'm a little disappointed in no snow, just with, because my niece is coming to town from California next week, so she really wants snow. I think usually I would be okay with it. And I have first and third grader here.
Clear. Great.
I'm Mel Steve. I use they, them pronouns. I also have a first grader. And I don't know, I guess I'm just more sad that there's not snow because it just makes me like worry about like the earth and the farmers and like the drought. So, yeah, but I guess I am glad not to have to shovel.
Tana, I use she, her pronouns. I have a first grader and a fourth grader, and I guess I'm conflicted. My husband does on-call snow removal in the winter because he drives truck for a construction company, so that's the winter contracts. So like he did have to work the other night from like 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., which is okay for hours, but we missed a party.
I'm Mandy Stein. I use she, her pronouns, and I have a fourth grader. And, I was so excited about having no snow, but then Nella made me feel really guilty, so. So now I'm also sad for the earth.
I'm Joanne Brockington. I have two second graders, Simon and Marcy. And I think I'm gonna have to answer this question when winter is over, because if we have this lovely December and then the rest of winter is like pretty good and good snow and not horrible, then I'll be happy. But if this is just a sign of more weirdness to come, then I won't be as happy, which is probably what's gonna happen.
I'm Gina Del Corazon, they, them pronouns. I share a third grader, son, Tonio. I feel unsettled, like unnerved, my seasonal, like, cues are off. Like what you said about it doesn't feel like it's 4 days of winter break, but I'm the one who shovels. So also, I'm just torn. I'm torn. I'm unsettled, but also a little relieved. And I think that, I'm gonna say like January 7th is when we'll get a 6 inch.
Okay.
I'm V. Paul EM, and I'm fourth grade Silas. And I just want to know how to dress. So I would like snow so that I could commit to my snow pants and my snow boots, as opposed to one day it's spring weather and the next day it's snow boot weather.
I hear that.
So I don't like feeling cold, but I like the fashion statement.
Tom Hartman, I've got a third grader. What was the question?
Are you feeling upset or relieved that there's no snow? And when do you predict there'll be 6 inches at least?
I'm not drawing any conclusions about the timing. Some years just comes late. Not saying I don't believe there are major problems happening, but some days just doesn't. I don't know. I guess it just kind of is what it is. Like, last year we got too much. This year maybe we'll get just a little.
Yeah.
I'm not a farmer, so I guess I can say that without feeling like I have like major implications on my day to day. But I'll say December 30th, by the end of the year.
Okay.
Oh, hi. I'm Melissa Hanson. I share pronouns, and I have a third grader, and he really likes snow, and so he helps me like snow more. In the whole, I really like fresh water and, don't like climate change. But so I'm a little bummed about it. But I also don't like to get stressed about the weather. But I think it'll snow by January 4th.
Okay. Shauna, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm Shauna Cox. I am a parent of a third grader. I am 100% on the disappointed side of this. We moved from Colorado to Minnesota for the snow. So this is definitely like the not feeling like it's winter is really screwing me up. And because I agreed to go back to Colorado for Christmas, where I'm guaranteed to not have a white Christmas, I am predicting that the snow is going to arrive on December the 22nd when we leave.
Colorado has tons of snow already, I thought. I have a coworker who's there and he said he's been
The
skiing.
northern part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, the Front Range, Denver, like snow doesn't stay on the ground, and it's usually 50 on Christmas.
Okay. All right, we're gonna start with the board updates. I don't see Kate here. Do you just want to do the updates, Paul, since Kate's not here?
Oh, sorry, where we were.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
doing,
Safe House is going first.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so Kate is stuck at an appointment, and so I'm emailed in. And so let me just read verbatim first of all. The update from Kate, November 2023 monthly report was accepted by MnDOT. And what that means is, as a provision of the grant, we're required to file monthly financials. We had zero activity financially because it was just signed, so the reports are in, and so we're in compliance for month 1, so that's good. We've begun purchasing items as according to our grant proposal. And the transparency we have in place is, just to be clear, the grant funding, $17,000, $10,000 to be spent in the first year, thereabouts. It's going towards items that were budgeted, that we've already sort of discussed in previous councils. And so we're moving forward with it, but to make sure that it's always on the up and up, it will, the Bancroft account Liz and then myself are always, so that gets us to 2 eyes on every purchase type of thing. And then Liz obviously will be seeing the receipts and cutting the checks as needed. And the reason for that is we, or the PTO expends and then applies for reimbursement from NDOT. So there's that. We're in the stages, early stages of seeking district approval for our bike repair station. So one of our anchor project is to put a bike repair station out by the bike racks over on the 13th Avenue side. And Mr. Maxwell has already given a go-ahead on the location and on the type. So we've already selected. We just need to get the district to approve the project. And I believe, Diego, someone from Safe Routes to School is connecting you with somebody from the district about that process. So that's, as we understand, where we're at in that. And we're hopeful that it will move along at a better pace than the old school gym audio project moved. Specifically, I did want to point out that we have ordered and will be receiving at the end of next week, so we'll bring it to Ms. Finney, 10 new yellow vests and 10 new orange vests. It's kind of a big deal because we have so many students that we run out of vests, right? And the vests that we do have are some of them are pretty tattered. So it's the kind of thing where I'm stapling things together so that they stay on. So that's, I think that's a benefit right there. It's just a drop in the bucket in terms of what the project is encapsulating, but I feel like it's good that there's a positive movement on it. In terms of the bike repair station, we're in the beginning stages also. Not only once that's in, the hope is April, and just in the way that things time out for PTO in terms of events, because we're interested in holding a standalone event around it. So the launch of the bike repair station with bringing in a bike maintenance vendor to give people bike education, how to repair your bike, how to bring it out of storage, how to bike safely, some of those things. And we saw a little snippet of that at that ID event when we had that bike vendor in. So we're really hoping for just an event that's all it is, Safe Routes to School. And on top of that, and I know Ms. Sue and I have been talking about this, the other part of that project is to launch a lawn sign campaign. That's also part of this grant, and that lawn sign campaign is twofold. One of which is, let's pretend that I live on 14th. Would I like to have a sign in front of my house that says the walking bus bike train passes by here, please drive safely? I mean, that's a potential message. And so it's sort of identifying that these are highly trafficked spots by our students, where they like to have a sign to sort of be in support of that. That's one. And the other one is just generally speaking, they're nowhere on a route, but they're in our neighborhood. Be careful in our neighborhood, like Bancroft students present. Just the idea of socializing, that we've got students in the area. We are a growing community in terms of our demographics. And we have funding for it. So where this is going is, I've reached out to the Bancroft Neighborhood Association. They're on board with helping us sort of communicate out this thing. So once we have a message sort of decided on and actual signs made, they're going to help us reach a larger audience to find neighborhood folks. Maybe they don't have any students at our school, but who might be interested in having the signs in their lawns.
I have a thought on that.
Sure.
Me.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, if we're doing like a more formal bike bus, walking bus situation, Drew, my husband, who did the Bulldog illustration, did a bike bus illustration for Hale Field for a friend of ours who runs their bike bus, and like could just swap out the mascot and make it for Bancroft. So
Yeah.
Once we get to that point, let's make sure like it's a really engaging sign that, is like people want to have in their.
No, absolutely. And I think that's a good thing. Where I was going with it, and I sort of front loaded it by mentioning Ms. Sue initially. Once messaging is decided and finalized, we actually are interested in taking it to our 4th and 5th graders.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
putting a design element in place that's student led. Now, I think we will put a skeleton around it, or we'll scaffold it in such a way that the minimum communication specifics we want are there. It could certainly involve a design element that would be engaging, but that the students sort of buy in from, and you could sort of say students designed this, or they helped word it, or whatever. Plus, it's just an idea of getting them engaged. And so that's sort of where that would be. So that timeline, if we're working our way backwards, of April's launch, then March, things are in place. So that means February is kind of the time that we're gonna think about the design element of this, or the design exercise. So, that's all safe routes to school, or any other, I think that's all, did I miss anything?
This might be a question for the admin here. Is there like a formal list of the walking buses? Like, is there, you know, I mean,
No, it's very informal.
okay, because in this case, like you were going to be giving out signs, would you need some kind of like roster link?
Yeah, I do, there's two,
Yeah.
and they're very informal, the way they're established and set up. I think it's a lot of folks that live right by each other. And then at the beginning of the year, I just gather all of the kids' names and parent names that are allowed to pick up the students. And then they, at pickup time, one walking bus sits at one table and the other walking bus sits at their own table. And then when one of their adults or two of the adults are there to pick them up, I send them all out to be with the adults that are going to be bringing them home. So it's not a super formal operation, but
Okay,
I do have a list of all the kids and the adults that are responsible for picking them up.
Yeah, but I mean, like two things. So one, you know, to have that kind of roster in mind, if you are going to kind of do some outreach to those routes and say like, hey, would you want to do this? But maybe there's kind of a fun element for the kids to come up with like, I don't know, a team name for your bus or something, and then that could.
Yeah.
Kind
Oh,
of,
I see, yeah, I mean, I think what,
which might also kind of help
yeah,
other,
no,
other
for
neighborhoods.
sure.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate goal, frankly, is we, PTO, we are doing these things to raise awareness so that the families sort of from their level are like, you know what, I want to participate, I want to, you know, so if we've got 2 active walking buses, what are, you know, what if a third walking bus kind of crops out of this campaign, right? And then.
You even have a sign up of like, I'm interested but don't know where to start, and like,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
if I'm
no,
only
absolutely.
one, and it turns out there's like 3 people.
Absolutely, yeah, and then so then every year, the route will change, the people who are involved will change. And you know, the hope is that this grows, and we go from 2 to 4, whatever the actual need is, and people are encouraged. You know, I think really the goal is, well, you know, is the goal to get more kids walking? Sure, we could say that. I think the other goal is to reduce the amount of traffic going to school. I think that's the part that's sort of, you know, it's reaching kind of a level that's closer to untenable. You know, one of the funny, I say this in a tongue-in-cheek way, but one of the funny things that the safety patroller says, what, are we gonna trap a car today? And what that means is when a car enters the intersection sometime after signs are called such that they're stuck in the middle and the signs are there. Now, yeah, it's very much a video gaming thing, but I mean, what it's truly indicative of from a boots on the ground kind of place is that the traffic is such that, you know, really clean communications need to happen, because sometimes these drivers aren't paying attention and they sort of sneak through and realize now they're stuck. And every once in a while, we'll kind of get the idiot driver who's like, I don't want to listen to what you're doing, right? So really, that's the goal, is to find a way to sort of reduce that traffic around the area. Maybe it means, maybe it's a zero-sum game. Maybe fewer cars means more walking buses. I don't know, but certainly if we get more signs out there, it'll encourage people to think about it as an option. So that's kind of the tangential way of getting it. But yes, that makes sense. So yeah, the more people that are involved, and sort of, the you know, the more stakeholders you have.
It might be something also to maybe distribute to kids at the beginning of the year, just to say, I mean, because I know we can't just be like giving kids a map of where everyone goes to school.
Well, no.
But I mean, a way where people could kind of like offer up and say, you know, say, hey, do you live in this section? And if so, get in touch with so-and-so. We're thinking about organizing a walking bus. Just to
Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think logistics, and that's the thing, a lot of it ebbs and flow, you know. I mean, when it's a family sort of driven thing, I think the thing about PTO is some institutional memory can exist once this becomes a regular PTO thing. And then as families come and go, there's some of that sharing. The other thing to note is that the district has specific walking routes for our school. And we could communicate that out, and that might help sort of, you know, coalesce some of those.
Do you live along this corridor?
Yeah, and so use this as your crossing point instead of that as your crossing point.
Okay.
To even get there, you're right, we need to identify the people who want to be part of it, but before we get there, we gotta let people know, identify.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all cart before horse, horse before cart, eggs and chickens is all what it is.
Thank you, Paul.
Liz? Okay, treasurer's report. So, there's 2 accounts. The field trip account had $979 of deposits, and all but $50 of that was from parents. That seems pretty good to me. more than we've seen before. So that's good. And there was,
That's from readathon or?
no, just parents contributing, like when, with your, permission slip,
Okay,
you can.
oh, okay.
It was the first grade going to the children's theater, and then the third grade went to the Bell Museum. And the first grade donations offset almost to the dollar the admissions
Oh, that's great.
cost. Yes. And then the rest was the arts. That was really, really nice donation.
So that's encouraging, but field trip fund will need some more money this year. The, oh yeah.
Well, can I ask a question about that? Much like a communications question. Like, my kids, I told my kids' teacher I would contribute to the fund, and they were like, no, you need cash or a check. And it's like, I won't put my name in the fund, I'm gonna give you more money, because that's not real money. So I just wondered if the teachers are aware of that, or like the fund wasn't on the permission slip. Because that's just a really nice thing.
Oh, like a way to donate online versus
yeah.
like writing a check.
Yeah.
Good call.
Well, that money goes into the main PTO.
Oh,
Account.
Wasn't there like a link last year for the field trip account? Or you can write a note to put it in the field trip account?
I mean, you could write a note, but I don't know if it would, the money is automatically deposited into the main
so
account.
cash
So unless
check
someone
is
is scouring that, and I never looked at that last year.
Okay.
So if we can do cash and check,
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
Never mind.
But that's the reason that it's not online.
Okay.
Unless we, I don't know, flip-flopped it and had online go into the field trip fund. I don't know if you can have two different accounts, but I don't know.
Good question, something to consider.
When you could have two just ongoing campaigns, like underneath the Big Craft PTO, so
That's
it'd be
what I
like
thought.
campaign for field trips, and like, you know, the readathon campaign is a limited time, but you could have one that doesn't expire. And then you can have a couple of different campaigns that are on that PTO homepage.
Can they have different bank accounts they're deposited into?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't know that.
That's the thing.
Somebody would have to like,
Transfer it.
yeah, or just like, put like a memo for each one and then kind of reconcile.
But you can at least run a report, you know, like, but I don't know. This is so far beyond anything that I'm even good
Yeah.
at, so.
I mean, I'm hesitant to take that on, or, you know, doing that work just because of the extra time.
That makes sense, but I know that like people are always asking for ways to give digitally, so.
Yeah.
I get it, but.
I think Shauna chatted something.
Oh, I wrote a note assuming that someone could look at it.
Yeah, I ended up sending mine in through the campaign just because my kiddo's teacher was a little bit confused and sent my check back to me. And I wanted to just make sure the money got over there, but I had also assumed we could pull a report. So like the administrator and me had assumed we could pull a report from our Minnesota Gives account. And that is probably something we should look into. Because if we ask people for comments or notes or something, I feel like it's incumbent upon us to actually react to them.
Yeah, so if there's anyone that would like to volunteer to maybe be the point person on that fund, I can help. So, okay, yeah, maybe we could talk about having two bank accounts or two campaigns. I never even had login stuff till recently, since we changed the bank account, so I haven't looked at it. And the balance for field trip fund is $22,520.98. The main PTO account got some donations of $1,843. One was a $1,000 donation that we expected last year, but didn't get the check, and we got that. Another was a $400 kind of random donation, and the other remainder, it was 400 and something, was from the Give MN. And we spent money on turkey bingo, a tie blanket project, that's a sensory aid. Yeah, just some smaller things, and not reflected in these numbers, winter arts night, we had some expenses, but, yeah, $563 in expenses. So the balance there is $58,710 in expenses.
Little chump change. Just kidding. Thank you, Liz. So I just, before we talk, Ms. Sue presents, I wanted to mention, we had just one event this past, that the PTO was participated in the Winter Arts Night, which I'm sure Diego will talk about, or maybe not. But I thought the food was a success. I didn't bring enough food. Though no quiches next time, only the chicken.
Taquitos.
The taquitos were
So
the
good.
thing that were so good. So I think, I hope that we do it again for the spring, that we provide food. We did start, one of the parents, Stephanie, who is the person that's providing right now translation and has been translating our newsletters, started a WhatsApp group for Spanish-speaking families. So we're gonna make little cards, and we're hoping that we can send these out with the kids. And so to encourage, we have just a handful of families that have, the Office of Latin Achievement suggested that this is what other schools are doing to communicate with Spanish-speaking families. So, so we started a WhatsApp group, and then, and so we started handing out these little flyers. I think that's it. That's the only two things. So, any questions about that at all? No, okay. Let me share screen. Hi, Michelle, and hi, Kimberly. Okay, okay, let's see. Can you, oh, there it is, okay.
So I thought I would just give a little overview of field trips and what happens, hopefully going forward on an annual basis. You know, we did get a little bit off track during the pandemic, of course, and so we've been very fortunate through the years to have a partnership with the lodge down the road, the Masonic Lodge, who's given us a donation, a very generous donation of, in the past it's been $12,000, this year was $10,000, which is still an extremely generous, which has allowed us to do a lot. And before the pandemic, we spent every dollar, every single dollar. We never had a rollover. So the reason we have a rollover, such a big amount in our field trip account right now, is because during the pandemic, we halted everything and they still would give us funding. They still give us a donation. We just banked it until, so it was last year, we really went out everywhere we could go that was open, we went, just to get back into the world and to experience learning in a new way. Field trips are often the things that kids remember the most. You know, when they write that little 5th grade promotion speech, it's their field experiences that they remembered. Oh no. So, no, I said it, I was just silly. No, I was just being silly. I'm sorry. It's a school thing.
I get it.
So there's been, over the years, we've tried to have some sort of field experience or an in-house person or somebody visiting or residency to go with every unit of inquiry in every grade level. I mean, it's some overlap with other units, but we try to do a lot of things with our money. And we've been fortunate in that with our free and reduced lunch rate, we can get some subsidies or grants towards admission, which is very helpful. Last year, we couldn't get any. It was not high enough for that. So we paid full price for everything. And transportation costs are enormous. I mean, it costs about $350 to $400 a bus just to go a few miles away. We often have to take more than one bus depending on the grade level. So I just kind of want to give you an overview of what we do so you know what to expect. And so we recently started saying if you'd like to donate towards field trips, it will help us get to more places. It'll stretch our money out further. And I always apply for any sort of subsidy or grant I can get, always. And I also write grants, I'll seek grants, but it's one of those things where I can't always win them. Like, I don't always win them, I often don't, so. But if you want to just go to the next slide, I'll kind of show you, talk you through what we do. That's little, but high five for sure. This is what's either on the books already or something they did last year. They every year go to Richardson Nature Center, and then they go to Chutes and Ladders also. Kindergarten, we have the Raptor Center come into school, and they bring we like to have the eagle come too, so he's a little extra, but he's worth it. Last year, he flapped his wings, and you could feel your hair blow back. You're like, wow, that's really cool. Kindergarten always goes to a play. They go to Gale Woods, and they have a theater residency. This year, it will be Stages Theater, and that is paid for, that residency, through a grant that Miss Abrahamson got. So we have some money in an account already set aside for that.
That was amazing, by the way.
Yes, yes.
My kid loved that last year.
Thanks for saying that. It's a lot of fun. It disrupts everything, but it's worth the disruption. Gibbs Farm, first grade has an in-school virtual experience with Gibbs Farm, and they send like materials to school that they make and craft. And they also go to a play. They go to the History Center, that's coming up actually in the spring, a little bit in the future. They have a comics creators residency, which we just completed. You'll see their comic strips hanging out here, both at the library and in the hall. That's a grant given to us through the ASI, so that's fully funded. The ASI also comes into spool knitting, which is a wonderful handcraft. It's calming, it's a mindfulness activity, kids love to do it, and we go on a field trip to see the castle at the end of the year, also part of the grant. Second grade goes to Mill City, Gibbs Farm. They have another form of the virtual experience with Gibbs Farm. It's the Dakota Life, and they do some handcrafts with that. They go to a play that is funded by Minneapolis still, which is wonderful. They go to children's theater every year. They have school knitting, and they go to they also have an author residency, and they go to the ASI as well. And then third grade is the next slide. Third grade goes to a play every year. They just went to the Bell Museum. And when they were there, they went to the planetarium and to the exhibits, because they're now studying the solar system. So it was a great carryover from their Sharing the Planet and now this one. They've gone to the Science Museum in the past too, also a terrific experience for so many reasons to connect with their units of inquiry. Last year we started the taiko drumming residency, which was fantastic. It's gonna go up in cost quite a bit this year because we have another section of third grade. So it's one more hour a day for 10 days. And that was something that we just paid out of our overflow money from last year. Nutcracker, they're gonna go to this week, and it's fully granted. And they're going to the MIA, and that's fully granted. Fourth grade, we go on the river, some sort of river journey, or last year they went to the Working River field trip through the park department. It was great. J.A. Vistown, which is like a little city, it's from Junior Achievement, and they run the city. That's a whole economics portion of their unit. They just finished their Pillsbury House residency just down the street here at the Chicago Arts Project. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And they have paid for it, the whole thing, for the last 3 years. But every year they do ask, can we help contribute? And this was the last year they had the grant. So I'm anticipating we'll need to help contribute. I think they're applying again, but we sure would like to have that another year. They're going to Orchestra Hall, and that's fully funded by Minneapolis. And we have a wonderful connection through Mr. Maxwell. Everybody goes skiing in 4th and 5th grade, and that is fully funded. And it's a very exciting time. 5th grade, they're going to the physics course in January, and we pay for the buses for that. Starbase is a funded tuition to be there for it's a 5-day, full-day residency, all connected to STEM. It's on the Air Force Base. It's full of technology and all sorts of cool things kids haven't seen a lot of, and it's called Mission to Mars. And we have to pay for the buses though, and that's probably a couple $1,000s. Camp St. Croix, we have traditionally gone overnight camping, and with COVID, and that stops. Last year we did get out for a day, and that was fantastic. So we'd like to start getting back to camp again, and we paid for that last year with our overflow money as well. And then that goes skiing. And then there's just other things that come up, like, oh, the ambassadors want to go to Feed My Starving Children. Well, that, you know, then we pay for the bus. Oh, the patrols want to go to Nickelodeon Universe for their end of the year celebration. I think the PTO paid for their tickets, but we paid for the bus. Things just come up, and then, you know, I want to be able to have those experiences too. So that's why I'm requesting funding towards some of these residencies that we use our overflow money for, knowing that that overflow money is going to be gone. You know, we don't want to hold on to all that extra money. Let's get the kids out to the world. But I'm thinking if we can live in our donation budget for the regular field trips we go on and use that overflow money for those extra things that come up, as long as it can last. And if I can get help with or we can get help with the residencies that are not funded by grants already, if that could be a lined item in the budget going forward, that would be like so amazing. And would really ease my stress about trying to get it paid. But, so that was my request for why I wanted the extra money.
Oh, can you explain, because I don't think the board knows, but everyone else. Explain the extra, like the extra money.
We don't know the amount.
Oh, okay. Well, the ask is to pay for the third grade drumming, and it's to help contribute towards Pillsbury House, which I think that residency costs about $4,000. So if we could contribute half. And camp is $2,300 for one day, but we would like to move towards overnight. So like, I almost think I'm asking for a match to the Masonic Lodge. So if you could match that or be in that range, we could use that money towards those bigger residencies and keep our donation money for those out of school trips.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. Question.
So I'm just confused about years. I think that's the piece. So the $10,000 grant is in place. We already received that. I remember seeing the picture of the check. And then the rollover is money from last year or prior years wasn't used.
It's during the COVID years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does that represent enough to cover things for 23, 24?
Yeah.
And then this would be like, in anticipation of future years, we won't have, our costs are going up because we have lower Title I or we don't have Title I, enough kids in Title I, right, yeah. Designation. And then, so that a line item is sort of a standing expected, like regular contribution from the PTO general fund to the field trip fund of 8,800 would relieve the concern about like future year funding a bit. Is that right?
I was hoping I could have it this year, but yes, that's.
Because is the 22 not enough? I just am not.
It is enough, but then I'm gonna have to start like really looking at what are those extras that people are asking for, and yeah, we could pay for all that stuff this year. Last year we spent $18,000 all in.
Okay.
So we spent $18,000 again, all in. That really depletes that rollover money, which is like 5th grade went to the Vikings training camp and had a field day there. That's a bus. It's those kinds of things that we really have to start thinking about. If we get it too low, too fast, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we absolutely could. Mm-hmm. And our titles are actually going up. So that's a good thing because we can stretch our money out further. We're already doing that. Like already happened for the Bell Museum, for example. So
okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing that's.
I've just got a quick question, I guess. Maybe this got answered in prior years, but the Masonic donation is super generous. Like, it's incredible, the fact that we've been able to bank a little bit of it. Do they have an expectation about when we spend it? Because presumably they're giving us money to spend. As you said, in prior years, every nickel got spent. You know, so on the one hand, it's like that's something for the rainy day. On the other hand, like just to be good stewards and meet the expectations of the donors. If they knew we had like this big overflow sitting around, I mean, I don't know, I could see them kind of on both sides. You could say, well, we gave you to spend it, you've been banking it, get it out the door. Because I mean, I guess it's worth noting that the donation went down a little bit this last year. I don't know if maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I am not a donor, but.
I think except, and Sue was sort of, I mean, addressed it, the rollover is just because we didn't go anywhere.
Of
for
course,
a year
of course.
and the year after. But coming back to regular, and last year was our first year regular, totally nailed the Masonic donation plus the rollover. I think what's happening here is a discussion about, frankly, that our expenditures do far outpace the donation, that the donation cannot be the only relied upon source.
No, of course,
moving
of course.
forward. And what's happening here, if I'm understanding correctly, is we're just trying to hedge against, it's almost like when we get to school advocacy, the cliff. We're trying to hedge against the drop that we're going to experience next year if it doesn't get reinforced this year. That, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're looking at.
Yep.
But I think it is safe to say that the field trip money that the Masons donate to us, all of that is gone. If we were to track the serial numbers of those dollars, yeah, those dollars are gone. Rollover money is about to be gone, and the question is, how can PTO help in maintaining the level of programming that our students are enjoying, or of course, when everything in budgets are zero-sum games, where do we reduce expenditures, and what programming gets reduced because of that? So what's happening is it's just trying to be a little thoughtful in a year out way, so we're not surprised by it next year.
Yeah.
Is that?
That's exactly it.
Well,
To
and
go
so
back
like
to
if
your-
the money comes later, you have some banked in your account, right? So, I mean, I know we're in a flush spot right now. I think that's good. I think that I would rather the kids experience the field trips, and I think separately, longer term planning of how the PTO is going to continue to raise money because we are going to eventually keep paying down this balance. That feels important, but kind of like a separate.
Yeah. Mel, you had a
issue.
question?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just want to be sure.
Just to go back to your concern though, that's very valid, and thanks for saying that. We do report back to the Masonic Lodge every year, what we've done with the money, and they told us to say that, so.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and back to B. Paul's point too, there are field trips we have annually gone on that we didn't go on. We know going this year, so we cut the works, we cut the arboretum, there's things we are cutting out because we know we can't. We can't do all that. And so what are the most valuable? And those are the ones we're sticking with. So we're trying to also be good stewards on our end. We are very fortunate to have this, and we want to be good stewards.
I just want to say, I thank you for that really detailed presentation. I definitely when we get to vote or whatever, support adding a line item. What I would suggest, or what I think would be effective is to show not just the chunk of change, but there were a lot of things on there that were grant funded, which means that you or Ms. Abrahamson or somebody else had to write that grant and win that grant. So I feel it should be presented we got this much from the lodge, this much from parent donations or other donations, this much was brought in by grants written by teachers or administrators, and we're asking the PTO to provide this much, because it would show it's not just there's already all this other stuff happening. So I would just suggest that as an option to sort of make a persuasive case, and also summarize it so we can see okay, all these grants, that is a ton of work. So and also the communication about field trips versus residencies, with the I don't really know but the richer experience of working with Mr. Jeffrey from CTC, and you get to see that person every week and you look forward to it, that's also really persuasive, and I'm not sure how much everybody understands that nuance. So I appreciate the presentation for that.
I just want to point out in terms of the budget, the PTO already has allocated $6,000 to the events, trips kind of thing. That was approved last year. Last meeting. And I guess I'm wondering, do we want to split because the donation we get from Messianic Center is 4 trips? Do we want to split the residency? Because is that technically not covered under that, or is it?
It is.
It is,
I mean,
okay.
I think it's for field experiences.
Okay,
And so I consider a field experience any educational experience where we're taking students out into the world or bringing the world in.
Yeah.
And I try to have we've grown this over time, every grade level experience some sort of residency where that same person is coming in, an artist or whoever, and working with the kids. So we do a little of everything.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to point out, just because I want to look at the budget, right now we only pull in 26,000 this year. Our estimate that we're going to raise is 26,000 as the PTO. Okay, and
Is that just field trip or that's the general account?
no, this is only the general account.
Okay.
I'm not counting like the PTO. So field trip money is not a part of our. Of that, 6,000 is going towards, right now has been set aside for field experience.
Okay.
We are estimating to spend 40,000 this year. And we have about 57, 58, right? So that's 18,000 will be left in the account if we stick to this budget. So I think we could raise more money. Like on the previous PTO I was in, I only did one event for them and I raised $14,000. We don't really try hard to raise money. I'm gonna tell you, like, we don't. As a PTO, we have very passive with the book readathon and with the plant sale. Those are our 2 main things. Most PTOs do way more fundraising. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to the line item, but it would also mean that we would have to commit to raising more money.
I also think this might be a good way to motivate, to motivate raising more money, to be like, this is part of this incredible, I've never heard of a school that has this many field experiences. Like, that's amazing. And I think that's like a great selling point for the school and a way for the PTO, if we wanted to work harder at raising money, we could say, this is why, and this is part of why. So I think that you're probably right that we could.
I think it's true, fundraising has not been PTO's priority. It's programming has been PTO's priority, at least for my life here. And that's been a gratifying thing, I think, because we know there's immediacy to the work that we do. An increased fundraising activity, there certainly is, there's ceiling for that. I wonder about the notion of, we've sort of talked about this, PTO partnering with students to, in some of these fundraising activities. In the notion of for example, I'm using the socks sale as an example. If PTO seeded the money to buy a batch of socks that the 5th graders go and sell as a fundraiser, and then the 5th graders keep all of what they take. So they don't pay back the PTO for the seed money. They keep that plus whatever they profit. And another example would have been, had we had the time to make this work, last year there was a chess tournament here. And they were looking for concession stands. They wanted PTO to do the concession stand. We couldn't make it work, it was too tight. But the goal would have been for PTO to seed the money to buy the chips, to buy the zero sugar drinks. And then the 5th graders would have run a concession stand and learned the math of handling money, the leadership skills of dealing with the public, of providing a service, knowing that the effort they volunteered today was going toward a field trip they wanted to do. I wonder if, from a PTO standpoint, could we spearhead some of that, not just for the 5th graders. I know 5th graders get a lot of that attention. I'm a 4th grader. I want them to get attention. They could do the same thing. And I know and the other thing is, again, you're right, PTO does a lot of fundraising at other schools, and so do a lot of our kids' clubs, right? Our kids play on sports. The sports teams do fundraising at this age group as well, and if they're in other things. So I think there's a lot of potential here. If we are looking down the road of PTO taking on more fundraising, we could sort of color that fundraising a little bit differently than what we do with our big one, or big 2. And I don't know how we feel about that.
I want to put a motion because we have other items. So do you want the motion for us to, because right now we have 6,000 already in the budget. Do you want to motion that the PTO commits, I'm gonna go to 9,000, just for, that the PTO commits to a $9,000 line item on our budget starting this year. I feel kind of guilty.
No.
No, that's fine. We have the money.
You don't have to
We
go
have the
yet,
money.
so-
Okay, so, how do you, I always
I
forget.
move that we amend the budget line item from $6,000 to $9,000 to fund field experiences.
Yes, and it'll be, yeah,
Thirded.
second,
With the assumption it'll be ongoing.
Second.
okay. All right, so now,
Right.
do you have a oh no, some, oh no, we have a question. Anybody, okay, so, and then we vote?
Yep.
Okay, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ones or twos?
A 1, aye, 2, oh, well, Shauna. Those opposed, say no. No oppositions, abstentions? Okay, it'll pass.
Great.
Thank
Every
you.
couple
We did have an
technical,
Oh, wait, abstain, Kate abstained. Yes, Kate abstained, yes.
couple technical
Oh, yeah.
questions
Oh, yeah.
related to that, since we haven't done it before. So when should it happen? I mean, tomorrow, should I transfer $9,000 into the field trip account?
Oh,
Or,
okay.
you know,
Oh, right.
so,
I feel like we can discuss that later. We can, I mean, do we feel like?
I trust the treasurer
Yeah,
to
I
make
think
the
we can.
okay, so
decision.
we'll
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's approved.
Yeah, it's
The other
approved.
thing is, if you could help me, Mel, or help the PTO go sift through that, because if parents were intending to contribute to field trips and it was all going into the PTO
Yeah.
main account, that was never moved over.
Yeah.
Last thing, I mean, we do get some random donations, like we just got this $1,000 check. So that goes in the main PTO fund, but should it be split? Just something to think about. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Wait, I'm sorry, say it again, I was lost. Say it again.
When donations come in,
Uh-huh.
like we got a $1,000 donation that
Oh.
are just for the PTO, they're not
Right.
specified for anything. I deposit them in the main PTO account,
Did it
but
come in
I
with
mean,
field trip
Robert,
forms, or did it come in with?
Just a donation.
There was
just,
a, yeah,
we
some
just get
parent,
donations.
yeah, some parent was, yeah, it's,
So
So-
just something to think about,
Okay.
like, how do we manage that? Should
yeah.
Should we be splitting them? Because the main PTO account does have like a lot more money than the
Right.
field trip account, and the field trip uses a lot of money.
Yeah, I want to table this discussion just because we have other things to talk about. We can talk about money. Yes. Michelle, what's the question you have? And then we'll table this for the next time. It's a good question.
Diego.
Yeah.
It's basically, I know now that, and now that the school is asking for people to contribute towards field trips as they're able, and I think they're asking people if they can, contribute more, contribute $10 towards this, contribute more if you can. I think there's a lot of people who have the ability to contribute $10, but maybe don't have cash around. I mean, I know it was a real scramble for us to find money for my kids' field trip, and I would have been happy to chip in a little bit of extra, but we just didn't have the cash around the house. Is there a different way, knowing that a lot of people who do have money don't have cash? Do we have, if we were giving it to school or this is probably a Sue question, but do we have a way to digitally take the money? Like, could we Venmo or something? I think there'd probably be more parent contributions.
Yes, we can. So Michelle, yes, that was asked about before. And it is an opportunity to volunteer. There's a list, if you haven't seen it, and one of them is to do research on taking money through Venmo or other cashless options. But I do want to just table that just because we have several items so is that okay? Great. I want to say in terms of the funding request, we did approve the fleece blanket request from Katie Littner. And that was, I think, $200, right? $250 or something. It was a small amount and the board approved it. We're going to skip the chalk community because there's a lot of items and it's not going to happen anyway before the spring, so we can table it to January. Okay. Diego.
Thank you. just back to the. So I think my personal opinion is that if folks are giving like $1,000 donation to PTO, my opinion is that that should go in the PTO general fund. And then that PTO at some point can make the decision of how they want to use that fund or those funds. And so similar to how now we have $58,000, we as a PTO are making the decision of what we want to do with that money. So I think if somebody is donating it to PTO, they're kind of turning over that charge to the PTO to decide what is the best use of that fund. So I think just put it right into your general fund, let it accrue whatever interest, and then sometimes there'll be a vote and we'll vote for $250 for food blankets, and then that can come from whatever that donation was. So that's my opinion on that piece. And then I do think there's room for a conversation or further conversation around fundraising. As a parent, I know I am more apt to donate to my kid's school if I know what it's going to be used for. And so if they're like, this money is going to be used for our taiko drumming residency, like, great, here's, $50, like, enjoy. And so I think as far as like the PTO is concerned, I think if we do the plant fundraiser, if we do the readathon, what is that money going towards? And so I think folks are more apt to say, yep, I think that matches my values. I definitely want to give money to that cause or to that event or something like that. And in my kids' school, they go to immersion school, so we fund the interns. Like all of their fundraisers are for the interns that come in. There's 20 interns. They come from different Spanish-speaking countries, and that's what most of the donations and fundraisers are used for. And so that's something we don't have, but funding taiko drumming, funding a CAP project, funding CTC to come, like all those things I think are what would appeal to folks giving money for their kids' school. And I think compared to where we were 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago when I started, when I started, we were at 85% free and reduced lunch. So almost every single kid qualified for that. Now we're down to 45%. And so there's a big difference in what kind of flexible spending some of our families are able to do as opposed to where we were when the $10,000 went a really long way.
Yeah.
So I think that's just kind of my commentary and 2 cents on that piece. Principal updates, go Christine.
You have that.
No.
I was ready for my talking point.
Oh, good.
You have that turned in. Your educational benefit form, please see me. We are in the final stretch of this week. Our benefits forms are due on Friday. So you might have seen me trying to entice kids to come get a prize so that I could talk to parents to fill them out last week. So it's a big deal for us trying to get money from the state so that we can have really great opportunities and staffing and.
Yeah, it also impacts our compensatory ed, which is federal funding. And so there's lots of things that are tied to the number of students that qualify for educational benefits. It's not called free or reduced lunch anymore because everyone in the state gets free lunch, but it's the application for educational benefits. And the more applications that come in, the more potential of students qualifying, and then the more funding that we can get for our school.
Can I ask a question about that? So some people were wondering if you have to fill it out for like each child.
It's not going the same.
All kids can go on the same.
Okay, because there's a lot of people we've been trying to track down people and they're like, why are you filled it out? I was like, was it like maybe you filled it out for the sibling, but not the younger kid? Like, I don't know. So there's just a lot of confusion about like.
Yep, so I have a list of all the families and students who haven't, and so we've tried to double check that to make sure that.
Okay.
And there's been a couple where the sibling is on the did not turn in list and the one sibling is not, and so then we call the central office to have that fixed. We need to add the kid with their ID number to performance order.
If it's a middle schooler, maybe check in with us.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't, but I just was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I filled mine out 4 months ago. I don't remember how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So you can add all the kids' names on one.
okay, thank you.
That's one update. We did have Winter Arts Night, which was a huge success. So if you have a kindergartner, first grader, or second grader, thank you for if you came, and thank you for lending us your kid for that 2 hours because they all did a fantastic job of singing and showing
really
off.
good conversation about what social media is with my kids.
Oh,
They're like, why can't you
you
post?
can't put your
Yeah,
videos
like
on
that.
social
No, I
media.
my wife and I both like.
It was actually great.
No, it
Yeah.
was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, and I was like, you don't know how many Neros are on the internet. You will, in a few years.
But But the kids were so, like, they were still talking about it today, like, oh, did you see me on Thursday? I was like, I sure did. It was great. So anyways, it was fun showcase of some of the things the specialists have been working on. So Miss Mathis with all the kids and their songs and all the art that was posted around our building in the gym. And then obviously the stilts that were a huge hit after. We were gonna bring out stilts every family event that we have, so the chairs can get cleaned up real quick. But that was a lot of fun, and Mr. Maxwell always does a hand-eye coordination unit, and then the stilts are part of that too. And so it was just a good, fun event to go into a long weekend, so that was great. A couple big updates that we do have after-school classes starting. And so that was in the newsletter. We'll be sending home the registration packets that on January 8th. And so our new person's name is Danny Jimenez. Oh man, I totally forgot.
I thought that newsletter came from you.
Her name is Danny, that's all. And so registration opens on January 8th, and so it's for 1st through 5th graders. We have not had a coordinator all year since Mr. Zach left from last school year. Classes will only be on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then they start January 29th and will go through March 13th. And so that'll be our first session. We'll have a couple confirmed. We'll have Arts Buddies starting in, not Arts Buddies, they start in the spring. Fred Wells Tennis Center, and then some active solution something, and then there's a STEM robotics class. I think there's like 3 or 4 options. So that's a big update because we haven't had after school classes all year. It is school request season, so I know PTO, we've been going back and forth with some postcards. That closes on January 31st, so if you know any folks, please have them check out Bancroft and call the main office to schedule a tour. If you are already here at Bancroft, you do not have to do the school choice again and request Bancroft.
Oh, really?
You're already in.
How did they send you that email? Like you're gonna like get kicked out of your school?
Yeah, well, some folks thought that last year and then chose a different school and then didn't get into Bancroft. And I was like, why are you leaving Bancroft? They're like, we don't know. And so then we got back in Bancroft.
We should actually make that explicit.
Yep.
If we're getting, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just thought of it, now because it did happen especially the folks that were out of the attendance area. And so they didn't know that they were already like in the system.
Is that a communication from you or from the district?
It will come from me.
Okay.
And I can clarify that for folks that are already here, you're here until you're not here.
Do you have to re-request for high five though?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was the one caveat is that if your high five is technically not considered part of our school because it's a citywide program. So kids so you have to request Bancroft.
Okay.
If you are in our zone, I mean, you're already in because you're in the community school, but if you're not in our zone, our attendance zone, and you want to stay at Bancroft, you have to request that as your first choice, and you may or may not get in as an out of attendance student. I know that PTO has a play date. There's a lot of events that are coming up, so that'll be part of that. I have still yet to receive the list of potential incoming students, and so, we're going on break in 4 days, and so I'm hoping to get that so we can actually address those and send them out to potential families. And then if you have students moving on to middle school, our path is Anderson, and they had an open house last week, Thursday. We sent home flyers with our 5th graders. I don't see any fifth, right here.
Yeah, we went to.
Okay, perfect. There's not many 5th grade families, but there's one. And so that's our path, but you also have the opportunity to enroll in the other middle schools if you choose not to follow our path. And there will be the school, I think it's called the Choice Fair, a school finder fair, and that's happening on January 13th. January 13th, that's a Saturday. And so that's another option at MCTC. Bancroft is not participating. But if you want to go check out middle schools or magnet schools or invite others to come look at Minneapolis schools, that's a place they can go.
Does Anderson have IB curriculum? Oh, okay.
Yep, so they have MYP, so that's one thing that did change during the CBD is that every middle school now has an MYP option,
What is that?
middle years program. So we're at PYP.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I don't know all these things, but I was like, well, if he's in this curriculum.
Michelle has a question. Is there the potential to do postcards in Spanish too?
Yeah, Christine and I were talking about that today. So
Because we
I,
can get those translated. Okay,
Yep.
okay, great.
where was I?
Oh, and do we need, and do you, what we need for them? Do we have what we need for them? I guess we just translate what we have already, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just some fun school events. Like Sue said, I think the third graders have the Nutcracker coming up this
Yeah.
week. Our fifth graders have the spelling bee on Wednesday,
yes.
so I'm very excited to be the MC and host of that. Um, What's that?
What do you wear for that one?
You can borrow my sweeper's jacket.
Perfect.
You gotta dress up your graduation outfit.
I could. I'll wear the bulldog costume. So I'm excited about that. I know they took their entry pre-test today, so I think we'll see who our top speller is on Wednesday. And then I think I might transition to what V. Paul is talking about a little bit, but it is budget season. And so I know there's been some discussions at the school board. Speaking of which, we have a new superintendent, so that will be interesting to see how that all plays out for this school year and the near future. But I know that the finance department presented their pro forma. And if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I highly recommend you doing that. It can be found on the MPS finance page. And it's really about the projections of the district as a whole, the financial sustainability and stability. We, as a school site, will be most likely receiving our budget in February. Last couple of years, we've gotten it on February 14th, so I'm guessing it will be right around that same time. And then at our next site council meeting, we'll be looking at our budget parameters and then talking about ways to solicit input and budget priority input from families. So we're putting together a survey that we can give online and also paper copy at Skateville, at roller skating, because I'm guessing we'll have a lot of people if it's anything like the roller skating events we've had in the past.
I hope so.
So I think that's really all the updates I have. And then obviously we have winter break starting after Friday. The building will be closed for 2 weeks. Yep.
2 weeks. Oh, my children.
And then it'll be okay. And then we'll be back to school on Tuesday, January 2nd. So that's kind of all. Yep, which is the day we'll have a snowstorm or it'll be 6 below 0. And we'll have indoor recess for 2 weeks.
Before we go to, do you have a question?
I do, but.
Just a question. Do you
It's
have-
it's a question for Mr. Devon.
Okay, just one question.
One question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so Wednesday is the shift, the district is shifting their website vendor service system.
Yes,
And so Wednesday, we lose access to editing our web pages.
yes.
I think we have 9 active web pages. I've been talking with Ms. Werner about the process, so I'm bringing it to council, and I really wanted to sort of be on the record about it, that we need to work out a system of getting page updates to Ms. Werner, and I understand she still is sort of exploring what does that mean for her own workload, because she's the only one doing the entire school's set. I think for the most part, our web pages are updated minus the minutes from today's meeting, or the video from today's meeting. But if people who have, for example, you read front page, if people want to take a look at the pages that they.
read it on page?
You do, yeah. So anyway, and well, this is actually a good point to bring up. The web page has always been used as the site for people who are not on Facebook.
Wait, what's the question?
Well, the question is, what is the process?
Oh, okay, what's the process?
Updating the webpage?
Yeah, I mean, now that, because we lose access on Wednesday, so the question was the process.
So my goal is to convince whoever is responsible for the web pages to let more people than just one person at a site have access to update the web page.
You mean at the district level?
Yes. So that's not my solution, but that's what my task is gonna be, because I know Barb and I have had the same conversation. Because I think, I'll say it out loud, I think that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
That all of that gets put on one person, especially when there's lots of things that get, and we use our website, I think, as a hub of information. We try to keep it as updated as possible. I know we did during COVID and all the information went on there. And so my hope is that we can have more than just one person at the site be responsible for updating and accessing the webpage.
Great.
So,
No, that's absolutely great. I wrote a letter to that person. It's great for that person to see your letter.
Yep.
And I even expressed, we took trainings to have the authority to do it. So we'll take whatever other training we need.
right.
All right, someone requested to it's an advocacy, Heather, I'm gonna give you the check before I hand it over to Paul because, so you can go next.
Oh, great, okay, hi everyone, I'm Heather House, and so glad to be here. I just wanted to come and share with the PTO a few things that's happening with our teachers of color in the district, and I want to be totally transparent here that I am also an MPS employee, but right now I am going to be here as a representative, as a parent. I'm here just to inform you. I'm not here to persuade you, but I just want everyone to be kind of familiar what's happening with our budget cuts and what's going on with teachers of color. So if you recall our strike that happened 2 years ago, one of the items that we really pushed as BIPOC educators is to have a line item that protected educators, particular teachers of color, from getting accessed. And so what that means is that we have a current policy that is first in, last out. So that means if we have a traditionally young workforce of teachers who are of color, they will get access. If there are layoffs, or not layoffs, excuse me, if there are not enough positions for the building, okay? So during that strike, we pushed really hard to get that language in the contract, in the MFP contract. So that's currently in the contract. What I'm here to share with you is that now we know that we are in a budget fiscal sort of challenge, and we will be closing schools, right? We know that, that's been very clear. The board has talked about that, Michelle Cox. And so what is happening now is the current contract stands is that seniority with school closings, with programs merging, with whatever the district decides to do, seniority is what is going to take precedence over anything else. So that line item of protecting our teachers of color will go away with this current contract, how it stands. Both parties signed, the union signed it, and the district signed it. So we are now in a negotiation year. So they're negotiating the contract currently as we speak. So I'm coming to this space as a parent of color, and I value having teachers of color that look like our students. So if we think about district-wide, we already know that does not currently exist, right? Our student body is mostly Black and brown students. Our teaching force does not reflect that. I'm gonna keep it local and think about Bancroft right now. Does that match our student body? And I think, what is our population? 60% students of color, Black and brown families? And then what would you say your teaching staff here is? Not BAs, but your teaching staff is mostly white.
90%.
Yeah, not 60. Right, so we know that those numbers do not match. So to ask from you, and I think I shared a document with you. So just to ask from this, if this is something you feel that you have capacity to share with your social media contacts, please do that. We're just asking the board to not sign a contract that says both, right? So we want protection for accessing, right? That's there. But now we're saying we would also like protection of our teachers of color with seniority layoffs, because we know that that will be the next phase of our district. So share on social media. I also have created a calling a representative, board representatives. If you know who that is, I also added links. If you don't know who that person is, you can leave a voicemail, an email with them. And I have like a little blurb, just like 3 things you can say, and then just leave your messages if that's something that you want to do. So that's kind of where it's at.
I'm interested in sharing with folks, and please share that if you feel that that's a value for you.
Thank you.
How would
Thank you
we,
for
how
putting
would we
together.
like to share this? That's the question.
Like email out to everybody who's here or?
Yes, I mean, I can just email the document.
Do you have the document?
Minutes.
Can I have
I
talking
can, yeah, I
points?
can put it in the minutes, and I can, when I send out the survey, like the post, I'll just attach the documents for folks. I usually only send it to people that are here.
And I think the messaging's gonna get messy and dirty, like it kind of does historically in this district. So I do have like 3 talking points, like just really clear and concise. It has to say both. The language and the contract has to say both. Seniority is really important because we know our teachers of color will never get to seniority because they keep getting access. So it's just like this cycle of just like never being really actually able to teach and be in this district. And so that's the problem. So yeah.
Donna, could you, if you don't put the document in the minutes,
I
could you
will.
like put an, oh, you.
We can put it in the minutes.
Okay. Yeah,
No,
or-
we
or
don't
like-
share the minutes.
Like, or put something that says like if you want to talk about it.
Normally
Yeah, we don't really.
We don't
Well,
really.
no, I always post to the website. It
Yeah.
just hasn't happened yet this year.
Oh, okay, well, we
But when
can
do we-
post it before Wednesday.
We don't lose it, we just lose access. So if we get it by Wednesday, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll post the minutes by Wednesday. We'll do
Okay,
that.
Okay, I was just gonna say, if we can't share the document, like.
Oh, no, we
just
can.
Put like, talk to somebody who was at the meeting.
Yeah, no, we can post it. We'll attach it.
Yeah, and I think it's just important just to have the same
Yeah.
messaging because it's gonna get wonky and people are gonna say things, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I'd like to propose from a video sample, I mean, the documentation and the messaging regarding minutes, certainly, because that's just the way a council functions. But I think it could be a Facebook campaign for PTO in terms of messaging. We use the platforms we have, just the way that we did during CDD and during strike. And certainly, it wasn't that you parent, we want you to think this way. It's you parent, here's information for you. And it could certainly be because you're providing the content, and if you don't mind being called out as the credit of that content. It could be PTO through its various platforms saying, this was mentioned at the meeting, this is the content they'd like for us to know, take this information and act with it as you will. That's one, that's A, I want to point out. And B, I just sort of want to point out, we are about to lose access to things. During strike, PTO had a shadow website because we knew we weren't allowed to use the school's platform during strike for our messaging. And to be clear, PTO never came out in favor of or against strike. We existed to support our teachers that our kids loved. And our kids seeing them out in the streets, and we want to make sure that they were taken care of. That was our goal. But that site still exists. It exists under the background account. And so there is, if there is a need, we certainly could resurrect that and circulate that. And that some of the information that I know would not be allowed on our district provided website would be able to make it there.
Going rogue.
Thank you. Okay, 3 minutes.
3 minutes, all
We
right.
got 3 minutes, go.
All right, so yes, as Mr. DePaz pointed out, school advocate, the first thing I want to sort of say, the pro forma recording that we would like everyone to watch exists on the Bancroft YouTube. All right, the Bancroft PTO YouTube. I took just the pro forma portion and I moved it to our channel. So people who, they don't have to skip, because there was a lot of content, there's some great content, there
Can
were
you
other
send
discussions.
can you send an email so we can send that out?
Yeah, well, it's on the channel.
No,
Yeah.
because people are not going to the channel. So
Yeah,
like-
yeah, okay, I will find that link. So let me point that out. Highlights, I just sort of want to bring out in terms of the messaging, that, one of the things I brought up, the enrollment decline that they talk about is actually slowing. And it's not so much that there's an enrollment decline as that people are leaving the district. It's not that we're losing students to charters or in the open enrollment format, is that families are moving out of Minneapolis. So that's the general notion. There is a slow in the enrollment.
city, not the district.
Sorry, the city, yes, the city. It's moving out of the city. But localizing that, one of the messages that we've sort of always said about our neighborhood is, that we used to say about our neighborhood is we didn't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. We didn't want to say, go to our school and don't go to Northrop, or go to, that's old, that's an old message now. I think now we can say, you're in our area, come to Bangor, right? Because we know, in spite of the fact, right, that there may be citywide an enrollment decline, we are certainly experiencing in our own backyard an enrollment increase. So I think messaging that's a little more strong about why we want people to come to Bangor, I think we could espouse that. So that's one of the things that was my takeaway, and I wonder if it'll be your takeaway when you watch the video, because you're all gonna watch the video. Right, we know about the drop in federal funds school year 2025, so we're gonna head into a 40 million deficit. That's an easy thing to sort of read, and then the deficit grows larger. But the thing I want to also point out, 80% of the district's budget goes to instruction and support services at the school level. 8.1% of that is buildings and maintenance. 6% transportation, 6% admin. So that's kind of the breakdown. And one of the things they're looking at is cutting back, and you've already said this, closing schools. The district has the capacity for 44,000 students, but we only have 29,000 enrolled. We have something like 8.5 million square feet. The next one, we are first place. Second place is 1 million, right? So it is very obvious they're looking at school closures. We are not going to experience a school closure because, well, I would hope to say that, right? Because we are fairly robust. But I think some of the other things that we do.
We weren't gonna be using the district, like the boundaries to decide who went to this school. Remember when that was a thing?
Yeah. But I just sort of want to point out that it is clear that the closures is the thing that they're trying to sell. And for folks who don't know, the pro forma is not this is what we are doing. The pro forma is setting the context for staff to decide what they are doing. So I did want to sort of bring that up. This is the weird thing for me. This is something that I really wanted to get at. In the meeting, they said that the district can boast 17.3 kids per teacher. And we know we're not experiencing that in our own school. I can't imagine other schools are experiencing that kind of ratio. They're using that to claim, when they compare it against Rosemount at 22 kids per teacher, they're as part of the accessing or whatever the verbiage is, they could lose positions and increase because they have room to increase that ratio. Now, I don't know how true that ratio is, but that was something that I took out of pro forma saying, I feel like there's some wrong math there. Maybe that's something for us to look at.
One more minute.
Yeah, thank you. So budget status is unsustainable. We cannot expand income by asking more students to come because that's currently not the case. So a decrease in spending is what they're trying to do. And that's it. That's everything. That's what I wanted to point out from the pro forma. As we, as a group, move forward towards some kind of messaging to sort of talk about how can we preserve the budget and maybe increase the budget that Diego and Christine receives in February, right? Because we know that the math is off in terms of that.
Yeah.
And then the work that we do for our school, how do we spill that over and be beneficial to the district? That's really what I was trying to say before.
Yeah.
Am I under?
You're
No music yet, no music yet.
So we'll follow this up with an email with more specific asks. Just because we only have one. The winter clothing drive, it's going well. Please spread the news. At the next meeting, we will have, I don't know how it's going to work out, but we're going to have places where parents can come. We're going to sort the clothing and they can get it. And we're hoping that encourages more people to come to the PTO meeting next time. We're also having a presentation for Spanish-speaking parents. It'll probably be before the meeting or after. We have to figure out the logistics of that. There is a December and January play date that Diego mentioned. And I just want to express gratitude for everyone who's done, I want to be specific, but we have 1 minute left. And just Mandy for Marita, everybody has done so many great things and I just am very appreciative. Last but not least, we are going to move into MailChimp. So if you have not signed up, because I hate when I send an email and 12 people emails telling me my kid is not in this school anymore, remove me off this list. And I'm like, it makes me feel rejected. And so I want people to have control that they're on the listserv. So we're moving to MailChimp. So if you, in January, because we've been paying for MailChimp for 3 months, all emails will be coming through MailChimp so that you can get yourself off. I want to be like, you could block, but I don't. That's my Philly side. That's my Philly side. I don't want to do that. I just say, thank you so much. We're so sorry. So anyway, MailChimp. And I think that's it. How about the food? Yay or nay?
Parkway's better.
Parkway's better, right? Parkway's better. I know. Okay. We won't do it again, but we try. I like to support.
Who's this?
This is, that is true.
You gotta tell the taquinos, you gotta tell them to cook it well done. They never cook it enough.
Yeah. Okay,
Always
that's good to know. That's good to know. I don't like it. It's too thin.
I would just say I highly recommend checking out the pro forma. Just back to Beef Ball's point. And I sent the same messaging to staff here, and basically what you just said is what I told Sue and Christine and Lindsay in our little meeting today. And I highly suggested and recommended to my staff or our staff here to look at the pro forma, look at the video, because I think it was very eye-opening to me. And
Okay.
thinking about the comparisons of Minneapolis to
What
other
is
large
pro
districts.
forma? What is pro forma? Somebody asked.
It's basically just like the projection of status quo. So if we continue to keep every building that's open, keep every position, keep spending the amount of money that's being spent in the district, this is what's going to happen in the next 5 to 6 years.
So it's like
And
the
so-
preface to like, we gotta make changes.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it's not, so like what Paul said, it states right in the document, this is not a projection, this is not a plan, this is not offer solutions. This just gives an idea of where we're at and what will happen if we stay where we're at.
Okay.
But it, I mean,
Yeah.
it's very stressful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Come in January. So you know that.
Trapped.
Okay.